You are on HOA catastrophe. I stayed calm and let her talk. My name is Derek. I manage a gym in Montreal, and I am about to watch an HOA vice president commit fraud in my driveway while a tow truck idles behind her. Patricia is screaming at me, her face red under that gray bucket hat, megaphone dangling from her wrist like she might need it for volume reinforcement. You need to remove this hazard immediately, or I will have your contractor cited and towed when he returns tomorrow. She jabs a finger at the orange cone lying on its side near the property stake my surveyor drove in yesterday. The cone is not blocking anything. The stake marks the legal setback line for my fence installation, which starts Monday. But Patricia does not care about legal. She cares about control. And in the cottages at Willow Glen HOA, control means making up violations faster than you can document your compliance. I moved to this neighborhood in Montreal, Quebec 8 months ago because the houses were affordable and I needed something close to the gym where I open at 5 in the morning. I am a gym manager, early morning open shifts, and my health has been fragile lately. Sleep disruption is making it worse. The last thing I needed was an HOA that uses rules as leverage instead of guidance. But that is exactly what I got. Patricia is the HOA vice president, and she has made it her personal mission to find something wrong with every project I touch. This fence thing started 3 weeks ago when I submitted my application to replace the rotting picket fence along my back property line. The old fence was falling apart, half the pickets missing, posts leaning like they were drunk. I measured everything, confirmed the setback with the city, hired a licensed contractor, and submitted a complete application packet with drawings and specs. The HOA design committee sat on it for 2 weeks without a response, then sent me a one-sentence email saying my fence style was not pre-approved and I needed to resubmit with a different design. No explanation, no guidance, just a bureaucratic stall. I resubmitted with a board-on-board cedar design that matched 4 other fences on my street. Another week of silence. Then yesterday, my contractor showed up to set the layout string line and property markers so we could start Monday. He drove stakes at the correct setback, tied the string, and put orange cones at each corner so nobody would trip over the line. Basic site prep. I left for my shift at the gym, and when I got home at noon, there was a notice on my door. Violation. Unapproved construction activity. Fence installation must cease immediately. Fine schedule begins tomorrow. I called the HOA management office. The woman who answered said Patricia had filed the violation that morning during her inspection patrol. I told her I had an approved permit from the city, and my application was still pending with the HOA. She said the city permit did not matter. HOA approval was required first, and Patricia had flagged my property for non-compliance. I asked when the design committee was going to actually review my resubmission. She said they meet next month. I said the contractor was scheduled to start Monday, and I had already paid the deposit. She said that was my problem, and hung up. That was yesterday. This morning I woke up to my doorbell camera alert at 6:15. I checked the app and saw Patricia walking my property line with a flashlight, even though the sun was already up. She stopped at each stake, took photos with her phone, then posted a second notice on my door. This one said the markers were a tripping hazard and must be removed within 24 hours, or the HOA would remove them and charge me for labor. I went outside in my pajamas and asked her what she was doing on my property at dawn. She said HOA inspections can occur at any time as outlined in the bylaws, and I was in violation of safety standards. I asked which safety standard. She said common sense, and walked away. I spent the morning documenting everything. I took photos of the stakes, the string line, the cones, the notice on my door. I emailed my contractor and told him to bring copies of the city permit and the survey when he arrived Monday. Then, I called the city planning office and asked if there was any issue with my fence permit. The clerk said no. Everything was approved. The setback was correct, and I was clear to proceed. I asked if she could email me a confirmation. She said sure, and 5 minutes later I had an official email with my permit number and a note that the fence met all municipal requirements. That was this morning. Now it is 2 in the afternoon. I just got home from the gym, and Patricia is in my driveway with a tow truck. She is holding a clipboard with a tow authorization slip clipped to it. No readable text on the page, but I can see the HOA letterhead at the top. The tow driver is a younger guy, maybe 30, standing by the truck with his arms crossed. He looks uncomfortable. Patricia is talking fast, gesturing at my contractor's pickup truck parked in the driveway. That vehicle has been here overnight without resident identification, and it is parked in violation of the guest parking rules. I need you to tow it immediately. I step forward, pen gripped too tightly in my hand. That is my contractor's truck, and he is scheduled to start work Monday. He parked it here yesterday while he set the layout markers. He is coming back to pick it up tonight. Patricia whips around, her megaphone swinging from her wrist. The vehicle has been here more than 24 hours without a visible parking permit. That is a violation. I have authorization to have it towed. I look at the tow driver. Do you have a signed authorization from the owner of this property? He shifts his weight. I have authorization from the HOA. I shake my head. I am the owner. I did not authorize this. You cannot tow a vehicle from private property without my permission. Patricia steps between us, thrusting the clipboard forward. I do not care what you think. I care what the rule says. The HOA has enforcement authority under the covenants, and this vehicle is in violation. She turns to the driver. Are you going to do your job or not? The driver hesitates. He looks at me, then at Patricia, then at the truck. I need to see proof that the HOA has authority to authorize a tow from a private driveway without the homeowner's consent. Patricia's face goes red. I am the vice president of this HOA, and I am telling you, this is an authorized tow. The authorization is right here. She waves the clipboard. I pull out my phone. I am calling the police. If you tow that truck without my permission, that is theft. The driver takes a step back. Look, I am not getting in the middle of this. If there is a dispute, you two need to work it out. I am leaving. Patricia lunges forward. You are under contract with this HOA. You do not get to just leave. The driver shakes his head, walks to his truck, and climbs in. Patricia is shouting after him, but he ignores her, starts the engine, and drives off. She stands there in the driveway, clipboard shaking in her hand, breathing hard. Then she turns to me. This is not over. You are going to regret this. She storms off toward her car parked down the street. I watch her go, then pull up my doorbell camera app and rewind to this morning's inspection patrol. I clip the video of her walking my property at dawn and save it to my phone. Then I sit down on the porch steps and pull out the clipboard with color-coded sticky notes labeled by dates. I have been tracking every HOA interaction since the fence application went in. Every email, every notice, every phone call. The sticky notes are color-coded by type. Green for approvals, yellow for pending items, red for violations, blue for appeals. Right now I have 0 greens, 3 yellows, and 5 reds. And Patricia just tried to tow my contractor's truck based on a rule that does not apply to private driveways. I need a plan, and I need it fast. The HOA claims the fine schedule changes at the first of the month, and the deadline is tomorrow. If I do not get the violation cleared by midnight, the fines jump from $50 a day to $200 a day, and they can file a lien after 30 days. Patricia is betting I will panic and remove the stakes, cancel the contractor, and resubmit another application that she can sit on for another month. But I have something she does not know about. 3 weeks ago, right after the first rejection email, I attended an HOA board meeting. I sat in the back and listened to Patricia and the board president argue about a new fence policy they were writing. Patricia wanted to require pre-approval for any fence repair, even replacing a single board. The board president said that was too restrictive and would create a backlog. Patricia said the point was to maintain control over property modifications. The board president said they needed to be careful about overreach. Patricia said, I do not need proof. I have paperwork and vibes. I recorded the whole meeting on my phone. At the time, I did not think much of it. But now, after 3 weeks of stonewalling and this tow truck stunt, I realize Patricia is not enforcing rules. She is manufacturing violations to justify the new policy before it is even written. I kept my plan quiet because the HOA depends on controlling the narrative. If they know you have leverage, they pivot and rewrite the story. So I have been playing along, submitting appeals, gathering documents, and letting Patricia think she is winning. But I am not going to deploy the recording yet. I need her to commit fully, on the record, one more time. I need her to repeat her position in a way that cannot be walked back. My neighbor, Mike, pulls into his driveway across the street. He is the guy who sits near the front at HOA meetings and records everything on his tablet. He waves, then walks over. Did Patricia just try to tow your contractor's truck? I nod. She had a tow driver here with an authorization slip, but he left when I said I would call the police. Mike shakes his head. She is out of control. Last month she tried to fine me for parking my own car in my own driveway overnight because she said it was not in the garage. I had to send her a copy of the covenant that explicitly allows driveway parking. I show him the clipboard with the sticky notes. I have been documenting everything. I have emails, photos, videos, certified mail receipts, the city permit, and a recording from the board meeting where she admits the real motive. Mike raises his eyebrows. You recorded her? I nod. She said she does not need proof, she has paperwork and vibes. That was 3 weeks ago when they were arguing about the new fence policy. Mike grins. You are going to use that at the hearing? I shake my head. Not yet. She has not put herself on the record in writing. She is doing everything verbally or through proxy notices. If I play the recording now, she will claim it was taken out of context or that she was talking about a different situation. I need her to make the same claim in an official proceeding where it is part of the record. Mike nods slowly. So what is your next move? I check my phone. The HOA portal went down this morning. I tried to log in to file a formal appeal and the site just spins. I called the management company and they said it is a technical issue and should be back up by tomorrow. But Patricia already told someone that because the portal is down, any appeal I try to file does not exist. She is pretending the system failure is my fault. Mike pulls out his tablet. Forward me your appeal. I will print it, notarize it, and we will hand deliver it to the management office tomorrow morning before the deadline. If they refuse to accept it, I will record the refusal. I send him the appeal document I drafted last night. It is 3 pages, citing the city permit, the survey, the covenant sections that govern setbacks, and the timeline of the HOA's failure to respond. I attached certified mail receipts showing I sent the original application with delivery confirmation. The appeal requests an immediate hearing and a stay on all fines pending review. Mike reads it on his tablet. This is solid. You are not asking them to approve the fence, you are demanding they follow their own process. Exactly. They have 30 days to review applications. They have blown past that. The violation notice is premature and the fines are unenforceable. Mike looks up. When is the hearing? I checked the notice Patricia left this morning. She scheduled a surprise hearing for tomorrow at 10 in the morning. She did not send me a formal notice through the mail, just stuck a paper on my door at dawn. The hearing is listed as a compliance review, not an appeal hearing, which means they are going to try to prevent me from speaking at all. I am just supposed to sit there while they tell me what the fines are. Mike shakes his head. That is not legal. You have a right to present evidence. I know. But Patricia is betting I will not know that, or I will not have time to prepare, or I will just give up. Mike grins. She has no idea what she is walking into. I hope not. That night I cannot sleep. My health has been fragile, and the stress is making it worse. I lie in bed staring at the ceiling, running through scenarios. What if the hearing goes sideways? What if Patricia brings a lawyer? What if the board sides with her no matter what evidence I show? At 2 in the morning, I get up and review the recording again. Patricia's voice is clear. I do not need proof. I have paperwork and vibes. The board president pushes back, but Patricia doubles down. She says the goal is to maintain control, not to enforce objective standards. It is damning, but only if I can get her to repeat the sentiment in a setting where it becomes part of the official record. At 6 in the morning, I hear a car door slam outside. I check the doorbell camera and see Patricia walking up my driveway with a flashlight, even though the sun is already rising. She stops at the orange cone, nudges it with her foot so it rolls further from the stake, then takes a photo. She walks to my front door and posts another notice. Then she takes a photo of the notice on the door, turns, and walks back to her car. I save the video clip. This is the third time she has been on my property without permission. I email it to Mike with a timestamp note. At 8 in the morning, Mike and I drive to the HOA management office. It is in a small commercial plaza 10 minutes from the neighborhood. The office is a single room with a receptionist desk and a back office. The receptionist is the same woman I spoke to on the phone yesterday. She looks up when we walk in. "Can I help you?" I hand her the printed appeal, notarized with exhibits. I am filing a formal appeal of the violation notice issued by Patricia Jackson on my property. This is a courtesy copy. I already sent the original by certified mail, but the online portal is down, so I am hand-delivering a second copy to ensure it is received before the deadline. She takes the document, flips through it, and frowns. The hearing is this morning at 10. I know. That is why I am filing this now. I am requesting a stay on all fines pending review, and I am requesting that the hearing be converted to a proper appeal hearing where I have the right to present evidence. She sets the document on the desk. I will pass this along to the board. I need a receipt showing you received it. She hesitates, then pulls out a sheet of paper and writes, "Received appeal from Derek," and the date. She signs it and hands it to me. Mike holds up his tablet. I recorded the transaction. Just so we are all clear, the appeal was filed before the deadline and delivered in person due to the portal outage. The receptionist does not look happy, but she nods. We leave the office and drive back to the neighborhood. The hearing is in 2 hours. I go home, change into a button-up shirt, and print a second copy of the appeal with all exhibits in a binder. I include the city permit, the survey, the email from the city clerk confirming the permit is valid, the certified mail receipts, the doorbell camera footage of Patricia's dawn patrols, and the photos of the stakes and cones. I do not include the audio recording from the board meeting. Not yet. At 9:45, Mike and I walk into the HOA clubhouse. The hearing is in a small conference room with a folding table and plastic chairs. Patricia is already there, sitting at one end of the table with the board president and another board member. The board president is a man in his 60s gray hair, wearing a polo shirt with the HOA logo. The other board member is a woman in her 50s, blonde hair, holding a stack of papers. Patricia looks up when I walk in, and her expression goes cold. She is wearing the same black windbreaker and gray bucket hat from yesterday, megaphone sitting on the table next to her clipboard. The board president stands and offers his hand. "Derek, thanks for coming. I am Robert, the HOA president. This is Linda, our treasurer." I shake his hand, then Linda's. I sit down across from Patricia. Mike sits next to me and sets his tablet on the table, recording light on. Patricia leans forward. "This is a compliance review, not a public meeting. Recording is not allowed." Mike does not move. I am a homeowner in this HOA, and I have the right to document official proceedings. If you want to challenge that, we can table this hearing until you provide a written policy prohibiting it. Robert clears his throat. "Let us just get started. Derek, you are here because Patricia filed a violation notice regarding unapproved construction activity on your property. Specifically, the installation of fence markers and site prep without HOA approval." I open the binder. I submitted a complete fence application 6 weeks ago. The HOA design committee has not responded. I resubmitted with a revised design 4 weeks ago. Still no response. In the meantime, I obtained a city permit, which was approved 3 weeks ago. My contractor set layout markers on my property 2 days ago in preparation for the installation, which is scheduled to begin Monday. The markers are not construction, they are site prep, and they are located entirely on my property within the legal setback confirmed by a licensed surveyor. Patricia cuts in. "The city permit is irrelevant. HOA approval is required first. You do not have HOA approval, therefore the markers are a violation." I slide the email from the city clerk across the table. The city permit confirms the fence meets all municipal requirements, including setback. The HOA covenant states that any exterior modification must be submitted for review, but it also states the design committee has 30 days to respond. It has been 6 weeks. Under the covenant, failure to respond within 30 days constitutes approval by default. Patricia's face goes red. That is not how it works. I flip to the covenant section and read aloud. If the design committee fails to respond to a complete application within 30 days of receipt, the application is deemed approved and the homeowner may proceed. I submitted my application by certified mail with delivery confirmation. I have the receipt showing it was delivered 42 days ago. Linda, the treasurer, leans forward. Do we have a record of receiving that application? Patricia does not answer. Robert looks at her. Patricia? She shifts in her seat. We received an application, but it was incomplete. I slide the certified mail receipt across the table. This receipt shows the application was delivered on the date listed. The application included drawings, specs, contractor license, and a survey. It was complete. Patricia's voice rises. The design was not pre-approved. The homeowner is required to choose from the approved styles list. I flip to another covenant section. There is no approved styles list in the covenant. The design committee is required to evaluate applications based on aesthetic compatibility with the neighborhood. I submitted a board-on-board cedar design that matches 4 other fences on my street. I included photos of those fences in my application. Robert looks at Patricia. Did we reject the application? She crosses her arms. We asked for a resubmission with a different design. Why? She does not answer. Robert looks at me. Derek, what is the status of your resubmission? I submitted the resubmission 4 weeks ago. No response. According to the covenant, that resubmission is also deemed approved by default as of 2 weeks ago. Patricia slams her hand on the table. You are twisting the rules. The purpose of HOA approval is to maintain neighborhood standards, and you are trying to bypass the process. I looked directly at her. I followed the process exactly. You ignored my application for 6 weeks, then issued a violation notice the day my contractor showed up to set markers. You filed the violation during a dawn patrol of my property without notice or permission, and you escalated to threatening a tow of my contractor's vehicle without legal authority. This is not about rules. This is about control. Patricia stands up, her voice loud. I do not care what you think. I care what the rule says. Mike pauses the recording, rewinds it, and plays back her words. I do not care what you think. I care what the rule says. He looks at Robert. That is the second time she has said that phrase in this meeting. It is also what she said at the board meeting 3 weeks ago when she was arguing for a new fence policy that would require pre-approval for any repair. For the record, Derek's fence application predates that policy proposal, and the proposal has not been adopted. Patricia's face goes white. How do you know what I said at the board meeting? Mike holds up his tablet. I record every board meeting. It is public record. Patricia looks at Robert. This is harassment. Robert raises a hand. Let us stay focused. Derek, you are asking for a stay on the fines pending review of your appeal? Yes. I am also asking that the violation notice be rescinded, because the fence application was deemed approved by default under the covenant's 30-day rule, and the markers are not construction activity, they are site prep. Patricia interrupts. The markers are a tripping hazard. I cited them under the safety clause. I pull out my phone and show the doorbell camera footage of Patricia's dawn patrol this morning. At 6:15 this morning, you walked onto my property without notice, moved the orange cone further from the stake, took a photo, and posted a notice on my door claiming the cone was a hazard. The cone was not on a walkway, it was not blocking access, and you physically moved it to make it look worse before photographing it. That is not enforcement, that is fabrication. If you are enjoying this story, please hit the like button and subscribe for more HOA drama. Robert watches the video, his expression unreadable. Patricia, did you move the cone? She does not answer. Robert looks at Linda. Linda, as treasurer, what is your recommendation? Linda flips through her papers. If Derek's application was submitted 42 days ago and we did not respond, then under the covenant it is deemed approved. The violation notice is invalid. I recommend we rescind the notice, stay the fines, and issue a formal approval letter for the fence installation. Patricia stands again, her voice shaking. This is outrageous. He is manipulating the process. Robert cuts her off. Patricia, sit down. He looks at me. Derek, I apologize for the confusion. We will rescind the violation notice and issue the approval letter by end of business today. The fines are stayed. You are clear to proceed with the installation. I nod. Thank you. I also want to file a formal complaint against Patricia for harassment, trespassing, and abuse of authority. I have documented 3 separate incidents of her accessing my property without notice, filing false violation notices, and attempting to tow my contractor's vehicle without legal authority. Robert's face tightens. I will take that complaint under advisement. We will schedule a separate hearing to address it. Patricia grabs her megaphone and clipboard and storms out of the room. The door slams behind her. Robert stands and offers his hand again. I am sorry this got so out of hand. We will get you that approval letter today. Mike stops the recording and grins. That was beautiful. We walk out of the clubhouse and into the humid Montreal morning. I feel the weight lift off my shoulders for the first time in weeks. But I know this is not over. Patricia is not the kind of person who backs down quietly. She's going to escalate, and I need to be ready. That afternoon, the HOA management office emails me a formal approval letter for the fence installation. It is signed by Robert and Linda, but not by Patricia. The letter confirms that my application was deemed approved under the covenant's 30-day rule, and that I am authorized to proceed. I forward it to my contractor and tell him we are good to start Monday. But at 8 that evening, I get a text from my contractor. Just got a call from someone claiming to be with the HOA. They said if I show up Monday, my truck will be cited and possibly towed. They said the approval letter is under dispute, and I should wait until it is resolved. I call the contractor. Who called you? He does not know. The number was blocked. The voice was a woman. Sounded official. Said she was calling on behalf of the HOA board. I text Mike. Patricia just called my contractor and told him the approval is under dispute, and he will be towed if he shows up Monday. Mike replies immediately. That is interference. Forward me the contractor's text. We are documenting this. I forward the text, then call the HOA management office. The receptionist answers. I tell her what happened. She says she has no record of any call being made to my contractor, and that the approval letter is valid. I ask if Patricia has access to HOA phone lines. She hesitates, then says Patricia sometimes makes calls on behalf of the board, but she would not have been authorized to contradict a signed approval letter. I ask her to send me an email confirming that the approval stands and that no one from the HOA has authority to threaten my contractor. She agrees and sends the email 10 minutes later. I forward it to my contractor. He replies, "Okay, I will be there Monday morning at 7. I do not sleep well that night. I keep expecting another doorbell alert, another notice, another escalation. At 3 in the morning, I get up and check the camera feed. Nothing. The street is quiet. But I cannot shake the feeling that Patricia is planning something bigger. Monday morning at 6:50, I hear a truck pull into my driveway. I look out the window and see my contractor's pickup. He is early. I go outside and meet him. He looks nervous. Any more calls? He shakes his head. But I am keeping my phone on record just in case. If anyone tries to stop me, I want it documented. We walk to the backyard and he inspects the layout stakes and string line. Everything is still in place. He unloads his tools, a post hole digger, bags of concrete mix, and a stack of cedar fence boards. He starts marking the post locations with spray paint on the ground. No readable text, just small X marks. At 7:30, I leave for my shift at the gym. I tell the contractor to text me if anything happens. He nods and keeps working. At 9:15, I get a text. Someone just showed up with a clipboard and told me I need to stop work immediately. She is taking photos and says she is calling the city inspector. I text back. Do not stop. She has no authority. I am on my way. I tell my assistant manager I have an emergency and I leave the gym. I drive back to the neighborhood, and when I pull into my driveway, I see Patricia standing in my backyard with her clipboard and megaphone, taking photos of the contractor while he digs post holes. The contractor is ignoring her, but I can see the tension in his shoulders. I get out of the car and walk over. Patricia, you need to leave my property. She spins around, megaphone swinging. This work is not authorized. I am documenting the violation. I pull out my phone and show her the approval letter. This is the signed approval from Robert and Linda. The fence installation is authorized. You need to leave. She does not even look at the phone. That approval is under review. I have suspended it pending further investigation. I step closer. You do not have the authority to suspend an approval signed by the board president and treasurer. You are trespassing on my property and interfering with a legal construction project. If you do not leave right now, I am calling the police. She raises the megaphone to her mouth and shouts into it, even though I am standing 3 feet away. I do not need proof. I have paperwork and vibes. The contractor stops digging and stares at her. I pull out my phone and start recording. Say that again. She lowers the megaphone, her face red. You heard me. I have the authority to enforce HOA rules, and this installation is not compliant. I keep recording. The installation is compliant. The city permit is valid. The HOA approval is signed. You are on my property without permission, and you just admitted on camera that you are not enforcing rules. You are enforcing vibes. That is not legal, and it is not your job. Patricia turns and walks toward the side gate. I follow her with the phone recording. She stops at the gate and looks back. This is not over. I am filing a formal complaint against you for harassment and intimidation. I stop recording and save the video. You do that. I am filing a formal complaint against you for trespassing, interference, and abuse of authority. And I have 3 videos of you on my property without permission. She slams the gate behind her and walks to her car. I watch her drive off, then go back to the contractor. You okay? He nods, but he looks shaken. That was intense. Is she always like that? Worse. But she has no power here. Keep working. If she comes back, do not engage. Just call me. He nods and goes back to digging. I stay for another hour, watching, documenting. By the time I leave for the gym again, he has 6 post holes dug and the first post set in concrete. The fence is happening, and Patricia cannot stop it. That evening, I forward the video to Mike. He texts back immediately. This is gold. She said the paperwork and vibes line again. On your property, while interfering with a legal project. We need to get this in front of the board. I reply, not yet. I want her to commit one more time in an official setting. If I show this now, she will claim it was taken out of context, or that she was joking. I need her to say it on the record. Mike replies, when is the complaint hearing? Next week. Robert scheduled it for Thursday at 6. That gives us time to prepare. Let me pull the recording from the first board meeting and the audio from today's hearing. We can show a pattern. I agree, but I am going to hold the trump card until she repeats the claim one last time during the hearing. I want her on the record, under oath if possible, making the same argument. Then I will deploy the recording and the video together. It will be undeniable. Mike sends a thumbs up emoji. The next few days are tense. The contractor finishes the post holes and sets all the posts by Wednesday. Thursday, he starts attaching the horizontal rails. Friday, he hangs the first section of fence boards. By Saturday afternoon, the fence is 70% complete, and it looks great. Board-on-board cedar, 6 feet tall, stained a natural wood tone. It matches the other fences on the street perfectly. But on Saturday evening, I get an email from the HOA management office. The complaint hearing scheduled for Thursday has been moved to Monday at noon. The location has been changed from the clubhouse to a courthouse hallway, right before a scheduled mediation session with the management company's attorney. Attendance is mandatory. I forward the email to Mike. They are trying to intimidate me by moving it to a legal setting. Mike replies, or they are trying to avoid having the hearing recorded in the clubhouse. A courthouse hallway is a public space. You can record there, and they cannot stop you. I reply, good point. I will be there. Monday morning I wake up early and review all the documentation one more time. I have the videos, the emails, the certified mail receipts, the approval letter, the city permit, the contractor's texts, and the audio recording from the board meeting 3 weeks ago. I load everything onto my phone and my laptop, and I pack printed copies in the binder. At 11:30, Mike and I drive to the courthouse. It is a municipal building in downtown Montreal. Old brick exterior, marble floors inside. We find the hallway outside the mediation room and wait. At 11:50, Patricia arrives with Robert and Linda. Patricia is wearing a black windbreaker and gray bucket hat, megaphone clipped to her belt. Robert looks uncomfortable. Linda is carrying a folder. Robert walks over. Derek, thanks for coming. Let us try to keep this civil. I nod. I am here to present my complaint and my evidence. If Patricia wants to respond, that is her right. But I am not backing down. We move into a small conference room off the hallway. It is cramped. 1 table, 6 chairs, fluorescent lights. A man in a suit is already sitting at the head of the table. Robert introduces him as the HOA's attorney. The attorney nods but does not offer his hand. We sit down. Mike sets his tablet on the table, recording light on. The attorney frowns. This is a private mediation. Recording is not allowed. Mike does not move. This is a complaint hearing under the HOA covenant. Homeowners have the right to document official proceedings. If you want to challenge that, we can postpone until you provide a written policy and legal justification. The attorney looks at Robert. Robert shrugs. Let us just proceed. The attorney opens a folder. Derek, you filed a complaint against Patricia Jackson alleging harassment, trespassing, and abuse of authority. Patricia has filed a counter-complaint alleging that you have engaged in intimidation and retaliation. We are here to resolve both complaints and determine if any disciplinary action is warranted. I open my binder. I have documented evidence of 3 separate incidents where Patricia accessed my property without notice or permission, filed false or misleading violation notices, and interfered with a legal construction project. I also have evidence that she attempted to tow my contractor's vehicle without legal authority, and that she contacted my contractor directly to threaten him with enforcement action after the HOA board had already issued a signed approval for the project. Patricia leans forward. I was performing my duties as HOA vice president. I have the authority to inspect properties and enforce violations. I slide the first video across the table. This is doorbell camera footage from 2 weeks ago showing Patricia on my property at 6:15 in the morning, walking the property line with a flashlight, taking photos, and posting a notice on my door. She did not notify me in advance, she did not have permission to enter my property, and the notice she posted claimed that surveyor stakes were a tripping hazard. The stakes were not on a walkway and were not blocking access. The attorney watches the video. Patricia, did you have permission to enter the property? She crosses her arms. I do not need permission to perform inspections. The covenant allows the HOA to access properties for enforcement purposes. I flip to the covenant section. The covenant allows the HOA to access common areas and to inspect exteriors from public vantage points. It does not allow board members to walk onto private property without notice or permission unless there is an emergency. Surveyor stakes are not an emergency. Patricia's voice rises. The stakes were a hazard. I slide the second video across the table. This is footage from the following morning showing Patricia on my property again at 6:15. This time physically moving the orange cone further from the stake, taking a photo of the moved cone, and posting another notice claiming the cone was a hazard. She manufactured the hazard to justify the violation notice. The attorney watches the second video. His expression does not change, but I see him make a note on his legal pad. Patricia, did you move the cone? She does not answer. The attorney looks at Robert. Robert, what is the board's position on this? Robert shifts in his seat. We issued a signed approval letter for Derek's fence installation after determining that his application was deemed approved under the covenant's 30-day rule. Patricia disagreed with that decision, but it was a majority vote. The approval stands. The attorney looks at Patricia. Did you contact Derek's contractor after the approval was issued? She looks down at her clipboard. I called to inform him that the approval was under review. I pull out my phone and show the contractor's text message. She told him the approval was under dispute, and that his truck would be cited or towed if he showed up to work. She made that call without authorization from the board, and it directly contradicted the signed approval letter. That is interference and harassment. The attorney makes another note. Patricia, did you have authorization from the board to contact the contractor? She does not answer. The attorney looks at me. Derek, you mentioned a third incident? I slide the third video across the table. This is footage from last Monday morning showing Patricia on my property again, this time confronting my contractor while he was digging post holes. She told him the work was not authorized, took photos, and threatened to call the city inspector. The work was fully authorized by the signed approval letter, the city permit, and the survey. She was trespassing, and she was interfering with a legal project. The attorney watches the video. Patricia, why were you on the property? She crosses her arms. I was documenting a violation. There was no violation. The project was authorized. You were on private property without permission. Patricia stands up, her voice loud. I do not care what you think. I care what the rule says. I look at Mike. He nods. I pull out my laptop and open the audio file from the board meeting 3 weeks ago. I play it for the room. Patricia's voice is clear. I do not need proof. I have paperwork and vibes. The attorney stops writing and looks up. When was this recorded? 3 weeks ago at an HOA board meeting. Patricia was arguing for a new fence policy that would require pre-approval for any repair. The board president pushed back, and Patricia said the goal was to maintain control, not to enforce objective standards. She repeated the same phrase this morning in the video. I do not care what you think. I care what the rule says. And last Monday she said it again on my property. I do not need proof. I have paperwork and vibes. I show the video from Monday again, zooming in on Patricia's face as she says the line. Then I play the audio from the board meeting again. The two recordings are unmistakable. Same phrase, same tone, same intent. The attorney looks at Robert. Robert, do you have any response to this? Robert looks at Patricia, then at the attorney. I was at that board meeting. Patricia was advocating for a policy change that the board ultimately rejected. Her comments about not needing proof were inappropriate, but they were part of an internal policy discussion, not a formal enforcement action. I lean forward. Except she's been enforcing that philosophy for the past 3 weeks. She ignored my fence application for 6 weeks, filed false violation notices, trespassed on my property multiple times, tried to tow my contractor's truck, and interfered with a legal project. And every time I challenged her, she said the same thing. I do not care what you think. I care what the rule says. But she is not enforcing rules. She is enforcing her own interpretation, her own control, her own vibes. And she just admitted it on camera. The attorney closes his folder. I have heard enough. Patricia, your actions over the past 3 weeks constitute harassment, abuse of authority, and interference with a homeowner's legal rights. The board needs to take immediate disciplinary action. I recommend suspension from the board pending a full review, and I recommend the HOA issue a formal apology to Derek, along with reimbursement for any costs incurred due to the false violation notices and interference. Patricia's face goes white. You cannot do that. I am the vice president. The attorney looks at Robert. Robert, as board president, you have the authority to suspend a board member for cause. This is cause. Robert looks at Linda. Linda nods. Robert looks at Patricia. Patricia, I am suspending you from the board effective immediately pending a full review by the membership. You are not to have any contact with Derek or his contractor, and you are not to perform any HOA inspections or enforcement actions until this matter is resolved. Patricia grabs her megaphone and clipboard and storms out of the room. The door slams so hard the walls shake. The attorney looks at me. Derek, I apologize on behalf of the HOA. This should never have happened. We will issue a formal apology and reimburse any costs. I also recommend you file a complaint with the management company and request a review of the HOA's enforcement procedures. I nod. I have already started that process. Thank you. We leave the courthouse and walk to the parking lot. Mike is grinning. You destroyed her. That audio recording was perfect. She had no idea you were holding that. I kept my plan quiet because the HOA depends on controlling the narrative. If she had known I had the recording, she would have pivoted, but she did not know, so she kept repeating the same line, over and over, until it was undeniable. Mike shakes his head. What happens now? Now we wait for the board to issue the formal apology and the reimbursement. And then we push for a full review of the enforcement policies so this does not happen to anyone else. Mike nods. I am in. Let me know what you need. 2 days later, I get an email from the HOA management office. It includes a formal apology signed by Robert and Linda, a reimbursement check for $300 covering the cost of the surveyor and the certified mail receipts, and a notice that the HOA board has voted to freeze all enforcement actions pending a complete rewrite of the compliance policies. The email also states that Patricia has resigned from the board. I forward the email to Mike. It is over. He replies, not quite. Check the neighborhood Facebook group. I open the group and see a post from Patricia. It is a long rant claiming that I manipulated the process, harassed her, and forced her resignation through intimidation and false accusations. The post has been up for less than an hour and already has 30 comments, most of them supportive of her. I screenshot the post and send it to the attorney. 10 minutes later, the post is deleted. A new post appears from the HOA management company. A recent post contained false and defamatory statements regarding an HOA enforcement matter. The post has been removed. The matter was resolved through mediation, and the homeowner involved acted appropriately and within his rights. Any further posts containing false statements will be removed and may result in legal action. Mike texts, "That is your Karen consequence." Her group post gets removed and replaced with a correction. I reply, and the HOA consequence is the freeze on enforcement pending the policy rewrite. He sends a thumbs up emoji. The next week, the contractor finishes the fence. It looks perfect. 6 feet tall, board-on-board cedar, natural wood stain, posts set in concrete with proper spacing. The city inspector comes out, checks the permit, measures the setback, and signs off. The fence passes with no issues. My neighbor Mike walks over on Saturday afternoon while I am standing in the backyard admiring the finished work. Looks great. I nod. It does. And it only took 3 weeks of hell to get it done. He laughs. At least you got the hell documented. That audio recording was genius. I kept it quiet until the right moment. If I had played it too early, she would have found a way to spin it. But once she repeated the line on camera, in front of witnesses, it was over. She could not walk it back. Mike pulls out his tablet. I edited together a timeline video using all the doorbell footage, the hearing recording, and the courthouse mediation audio. It is 10 minutes long, and it shows the entire escalation from start to finish. I am thinking about posting it to the neighborhood group as a cautionary tale. I shake my head. Let it die. Patricia is gone. The enforcement freeze is in place, and the board is rewriting the policies. If we keep pushing, it will just create more drama. Mike nods. Fair enough. But if she tries anything again, we have everything documented. She will not. The attorney made it clear that any further contact would be considered harassment. She is done. We stand there in silence for a minute, looking at the fence. It is just a fence, but it represents something bigger. It represents the fight against arbitrary control, against rules enforced by vibes instead of facts, against people who think authority means they can ignore process and accountability. A week later, I get a call from the tow company. The owner is on the line. He says he reviewed the incident report from the day Patricia tried to tow my contractor's truck, and after seeing the evidence packet I submitted to the HOA, he has decided to cancel the HOA's contract. He also says the company is issuing a refund of charges to the HOA for the authorization fee Patricia paid, and he is voiding any future tow attempts related to HOA enforcement actions unless they include a signed authorization from the property owner. That is the outcome I was hoping for. The tow company refunds charges, voids the contractor tow attempt, and cancels the HOA contract after seeing the evidence packet. I thank him and hang up. Then I sit down on the porch steps and look at the clipboard with color-coded sticky notes. All the reds are gone. I have 3 greens now. Fence approved, violation rescinded, complaint resolved. The yellows are cleared. The blues are archived. It is done. That evening, I go for a walk around the neighborhood. The cottages at Willow Glen HOA is quieter now. There are no dawn patrols, no megaphone announcements, no clipboard inspections. The streets feel different, less tense, less controlled. People are outside, working on their yards, talking to their neighbors, living their lives without looking over their shoulders. I pass Mike's house, and he waves from his driveway. The board sent out a survey asking for input on the new enforcement policies. I filled it out. I recommended they eliminate surprise inspections, require written notice before any violation is filed, and create an independent appeal process that does not involve the same people who issued the violation. I stop and lean on his mailbox. That sounds reasonable. He grins. I also recommended they require all board members to take a conflict resolution training course and submit to term limits. I laugh. Good luck with that. He shrugs. It is worth a shot. The membership is paying attention now. People saw what happened to you, and they do not want it to happen to them. Change is coming. I hope so. I finish my walk and head home. The fence is standing, solid and clean, marking the property line with no ambiguity. The stakes are still in the ground, the string line is gone, the orange cone is in the garage. The contractor's truck is gone, the notices are gone. The fight is over. But I will never forget the lesson. Document everything, know your rights, and never let someone enforce vibes when the rules are clear. Because the moment you let authority go unchecked, the moment you let someone rewrite the rules to suit their control, you lose more than a fence. You lose your right to live in peace. Thanks for watching, and I appreciate you being here.